لا تنفصل الأحداث في النيجر عن السياق العام في دول إفريقية عدة،
حيث ربطت التعليقات بشكل واضح بين هذه الواقعة.
السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته.
So I should have some respect for this gift.
A shocking discovery has just been unearthed on Oak Island, and it's so significant that it forced the US to shut down further excavation efforts. Imagine the excitement and suspense as the Legina brothers, along with their dedicated team, drilled deeper into the notorious Oak Island money pit, only to stumble upon something that could finally reveal the island's most guarded secret. What did they find? Why did it prompt such a drastic response? For centuries, Oak Island has been the center of countless treasure hunts, mysterious tales, and unsolved puzzles. Nestled off the coast of Nova Scotia, Canada, this small island has drawn the curiosity of explorers, historians, and even the US. But recently, something was uncovered on Oak Island, something so terrifying, so unprecedented, that it forced authorities to shut down the island immediately. What could be so alarming that it would bring operations to a halt and plunge the island into deeper secrecy? In today's video, we're going to reveal the shocking discovery that has turned Oak Island from a treasure hunter's dream into a place of fear and speculation. So, sit tight and prepare yourself for a story that will send shivers down your spine. If you think you've heard it all about Oak Island, think again. This latest discovery could change everything. Recently, during a routine drilling operation, their team encountered something unprecedented. The atmosphere was electric with anticipation as the drilling machine reached the 90-foot mark. The seasoned geologist Terry Matheson and experienced researcher Charles Barkhouse, along with the rest of the crew, watched with bated breath. This moment could be the breakthrough they've been waiting for. And then it happened. Mike Tedford, the master of the drilling operation, made a startling revelation. They hadn't struck gold exactly, but what they found was potentially even more valuable. At 90 feet below the surface, the drill hit a hollow space. This discovery was a game changer. The team's minds raced with possibilities as they realized they might be on the verge of uncovering Oak Island's legendary treasure. But why did this finding cause the US to intervene and halt further research? What was so terrifying about this discovery that it warranted such drastic measures? Stay with us as we unravel the details of this extraordinary find and explore the potential implications it holds. You won't believe what they've uncovered and how it could finally unlock the mysteries of Oak Island. In the early months of this year, a new team of explorers arrived on Oak Island, armed with advanced technology and renewed determination to finally crack the island's mysteries. They began their search like so many before them, digging in the infamous Money Pit, a site that has yielded some intriguing but inconclusive finds over the years. But this time, their excavation took an unexpected turn. As they dug deeper than anyone had before, they encountered something truly unusual, a series of tunnels and chambers that appeared to be part of a vast underground complex. Initially, they thought they had stumbled upon the legendary vault rumored to contain untold riches. But as they ventured further, the atmosphere grew tense. The tunnels were unlike anything they had seen, ancient, unearthly, almost as if they weren't meant to be disturbed. Then, they made the discovery that would change everything. In a secluded chamber, buried deep beneath the island, they found what appeared to be a collection of ancient artifacts, objects that defied explanation. Among them were strange inscribed stones, relics that seemed out of place in both time and geography. But it was what they found next that truly shook them to their core. Resting in the center of the chamber was a large, ominous structure, a stone sarcophagus, sealed tightly as if it was protecting something, or perhaps containing something. The discovery was a game changer. The crew's minds raced with possibilities, each theory more exciting than the last. Could this be the fabled treasure chamber they had been searching for? Or perhaps a hidden tunnel leading to untold riches? The implications were staggering, and the team knew they had to proceed with caution. The team was both excited and fearful as they approached the sarcophagus. It was clear from the outset that this was no ordinary burial site. The markings on the sarcophagus were unfamiliar, written in a language that even the most experienced archaeologists couldn't immediately identify. But the real terror began when they attempted to open it. The moment the seal was broken, the room was filled with an overwhelming sense of dread. Some members of the team reported feeling as if they were being watched, as if the very air around them had grown heavy with unseen forces. Undeterred, they pushed on, lifting the heavy lid to reveal what lay within. What they saw made them wish they hadn't. Inside the sarcophagus was not the treasure they had hoped for, but a skeletal figure that seemed too large, too inhuman to belong to any known species. Its bones were elongated, its skull disproportionately large, and its teeth sharp and jagged. The skeleton was adorned with what appeared to be ceremonial armor, but even this was strange, crafted from materials that defied identification, as if they had been forged using techniques lost to history. As the team examined the skeleton, one of the explorers touched a small, seemingly insignificant stone embedded in the sarcophagus. Almost immediately, the ground began to shake, and a low, guttural noise echoed through the tunnels. It was as if the island itself was reacting to the disturbance. The explorers quickly realized they had triggered something that was never meant to be awakened. When the tomb was found, everyone was very happy and hopeful about the archaeological potential it could bring. However, just as the joy was spreading, something strange happened. Giants appeared out of nowhere, with the task of guarding the site. These giants are ancient creatures that have existed since ancient times, and they are tasked with protecting this precious resource from the indiscriminate exploitation and greed of humans. The appearance of the giants has posed a new challenge for scientists and explorers. They must find a way to convince or overcome these giants to be able to access and exploit the ancient place. The clash between humans and the creatures protecting the tomb has created an exciting and dramatic story, where the intelligence and courage of humans must confront the strength and tenacious protection of the giants. What happened next is shrouded in mystery, as the US quickly stepped in. Within hours of the discovery, the entire island was placed under lockdown. Military personnel arrived, blocking access to the island and escorting the explorers off-site. All excavation activities were halted, and the discovery was swiftly classified. Rumors began to spread, fueled by the abrupt and unexplained shutdown. Some speculated that the sarcophagus contained a cursed being, something that should have remained buried. Others believed that the discovery had unearthed evidence of an ancient civilization, one that the government didn't want the world to know about. The official story was that the island was closed due to safety concerns, but those close to the project knew better. They spoke of strange occurrences, unexplainable phenomena, sudden illnesses among the crew, and the overwhelming feeling that they had uncovered something far beyond their understanding. As the days passed, the secrecy surrounding the discovery only deepened. The media was kept in the dark, with only vague statements being issued about the shutdown. But whispers of the terrifying find continued to circulate, leaving many to wonder. What exactly was found on Oak Island? And why is the government so desperate to keep it hidden? The discovery on Oak Island is shrouded in mystery, but it isn't the first time that history has revealed something both shocking and deeply rooted in ancient texts. To understand the full implications of what was found, we need to turn to one of the oldest sources of wisdom and prophecy, the Bible. Throughout the scriptures, there are numerous references to mysterious beings, forgotten civilizations, and divine interventions that echo the events on Oak Island. Could it be that what was uncovered on Oak Island is connected to these ancient prophecies? And if so, what does it mean for us today? Let's explore the biblical passages that might hold the key to unlocking the truth behind this terrifying discovery. One of the most intriguing parallels comes from the Bible's references to the Nephilim, a race of giants mentioned in several passages. For humanity at large, the tales of Noah and the 2024 atmospheric rivers serve as a poignant reminder of our vulnerability and the incomprehensible power of the Almighty. Psalm 62:11 asserts, "Once God has spoken, twice have I heard this, that power belongs to God." A truth echoed in these events. Faced with such catastrophic forces, we confront the reality that our lives are not solely in our hands, and there exist forces beyond our understanding. Yet, as Jeremiah 10:10 declares, "But the Lord is the true God, He is the living God, the eternal King. When He is angry, the earth trembles, the nations cannot endure His wrath." Even amidst the devastation and uncertainty, hope persists. just as the rainbow after the flood symbolized God's enduring promise to Noah in Genesis 9:13. We can draw hope from the resilience and determination of the human spirit, echoing the sentiment of Isaiah 40:31. But those who hope in the Lord will renew their strength. They will soar on wings like eagles. They will run and not grow weary. They will walk and not be faint. Following the atmospheric rivers, communities rallied together, bound by shared suffering and a collective determination to rebuild and recover, echoing Ecclesiastes 4:9-10. Two are better than one, because they have a good return for their labor. If either of them falls down, one can help the other up. But pity anyone who falls and has no one to help them up. This unity and perseverance, described in Hebrews 10:24-25, and let us consider how we may spur one another on toward love and good deeds, not giving up meeting together, as some are in the habit of doing, but encouraging one another, and all the more as you see the day approaching. Showcases the indomitable nature of the human spirit, reflecting God's image within us. It reminds us that even in our darkest moments, we possess the ability to rise above challenges, as Romans 5:3-5 states. Not only so, but we also glory in our sufferings, because we know that suffering produces perseverance. Perseverance, character, and character, hope. And hope does not put us to shame, because God's love has been poured out into our hearts through the Holy Spirit, who has been given to us. With God's grace, we can forge a brighter future, fulfilling His promise in Jeremiah 29:11. For I know the plans I have for you, declares the Lord. Plans to prosper you and not to harm you. Plans to give you hope and a future. As we progress, let's internalize these lessons and endeavor to build a world anchored in faith, as Hebrews 11:1 reminds us. Now faith is confidence in what we hope for and assurance about what we do not see. Let's cultivate compassion, following Jesus' command in Matthew 22:39. Love your neighbor as yourself. And let's nurture a profound reverence for the natural world, remembering God's directive in Genesis 1:28 to be fruitful and increase in number, fill the earth and subdue it, rule over the fish in the sea and the birds in the sky and over every living creature that moves on the ground. Let's also recognize our interconnectedness, as Galatians 6:2 teaches, carry each other's burdens, and in this way you will fulfill the law of Christ. By collaborating harmoniously with one another and with nature itself, we can weather any storm with confidence, as Matthew 7:24-25 assures us. Therefore, everyone who hears these words of mine and puts them into practice is like a wise man who built his house on the rock. The rain came down, the streams rose, and the winds blew and beat against that house. Yet it did not fall, because it had its foundation on the rock. For Christians, this entails actively demonstrating our faith, serving as beacons of hope and positivity in a world often overshadowed by negativity. It involves sharing God's love and forgiveness with everyone we encounter, relying on God's guidance to navigate through challenging times. For humanity as a whole, it means recognizing our collective responsibility to care for one another and the planet. It involves embracing empathy, compassion, and sustainable resource management while diligently working to create a fairer, more sustainable, and resilient world. Despite the inevitable challenges ahead, the stories of Noah and the recent northern storms remind us that hope endures. With faith in God, love for our fellow humans, and a commitment to building a better world, we can overcome any obstacle and emerge stronger and more united than ever before. The Bible reveals a strong connection between humanity's actions and the natural world, warning us of the consequences of our destructive behavior. This is reflected in Revelation 11:18, which speaks of judgment for those who harm the earth, and Hosea 4:1-3, which links moral decay to environmental destruction. These passages serve as a sobering reminder of the need to respect and care for our planet. The Bible depicts God's original vision for Earth as one of perfect harmony and equilibrium. In Genesis, God's creation is described as very good, and the Garden of Eden represents a paradise where humans coexisted harmoniously with nature. However, this idyllic balance was disrupted by humanity's disobedience. When Adam and Eve chose to defy God's command by consuming from the tree of the knowledge of good and evil, sin entered the world. casting a shadow of brokenness over all creation. This act of defiance is echoed in Romans 5:19, which states, "For just as through the disobedience of the one man, the many were made sinners, so also through the obedience of the one man, the many will be made righteous." The repercussions were severe, as God pronounced to Adam, "Cursed is the ground because of you," Genesis 3:17, indicating the disruption of the harmonious relationship between humanity and nature. As a consequence of humanity's rebellion against God, a discord emerged between humans and the natural world. The earth, previously abundant in blessings, became resistant, yielding its fruits only through strenuous labor and toil. As humanity persisted in sin and disobedience, the Bible portrays a widening gap between humankind and the environment. This aligns with the sentiments expressed in Isaiah 24:5-6. "The earth is defiled by its people. They have disobeyed the laws, violated the statutes, and broken the everlasting covenant. Therefore, a curse consumes the earth. Its people must bear their guilt." In Noah's era, this estrangement reached a critical juncture. Human wickedness was so pervasive that God deemed it necessary to purify the earth with a flood, a catastrophic event highlighting the profound consequences of human sin on the natural world. As depicted in Jeremiah 2:7, "I brought you into a fertile land to eat its fruit and rich produce, but you came and defiled my land and made my inheritance detestable." In our contemporary era, we witness the culmination of a long-standing narrative of human frailty and environmental degradation, echoing the biblical portrayal of creation's yearning for liberation from decay and futility, Romans 8:20-22. Satan is the son of perdition. Perdition means perish, death. He is the only entity named and sentenced to death. Ezekiel 28:18. "You have defiled your sanctuaries by the multitude of your iniquities, by the iniquity of your trade. Therefore I will bring forth a fire from within you. It shall devour you. And I will bring you to ashes upon the earth, in the sight of all who see you." Satan will claim to be God, Messiah. 2 Thessalonians 2:3. "Let no one deceive you by any means, for that day shall not come unless there is a falling away first, and the man of sin is revealed, the son of perdition." 2 Thessalonians 2:4. "Who opposes and exalts himself above all that is called God, or that is worshipped, so that he sits as God in the temple of God, showing himself that he is God." End-time world problems. How will they be solved? Jesus warned of an unprecedented time of trouble, the Great Tribulation, that will come upon this world, Matthew 24:21. We are not there yet, but it seems we are in a period Jesus described as the beginning of sorrows, verse 8. Every year, things seem to get dramatically worse. Are we heading toward the end of this age that the disciples asked about, verse 3? Or can we reverse these problems? The Watchers, fallen angels, and their offspring. The Nephilim are often associated with another group of beings known as the Watchers. These were the fallen angels who, according to the book of Enoch, descended to earth and mated with human women, producing the Nephilim. The Watchers were said to have taught humanity forbidden knowledge, leading to widespread corruption. Enoch 6:1-2 describes this event. "And it came to pass when the children of men had multiplied, that in those days were born unto them beautiful and comely daughters. And the angels, the children of the heaven, saw and lusted after them, and said to one another, Come, let us choose us wives from among the children of men, and beget us children." If the Oak Island discovery is connected to these ancient beings, it raises serious questions about what knowledge or power might have been buried with them, and what the consequences could be if it is unleashed. The sudden shutdown of the island by the US government could be seen as an attempt to prevent this knowledge from becoming public, or worse, from being misused. The Book of Revelation, End Times Prophecies. The final book of the Bible, Revelation, is filled with apocalyptic imagery and predictions about the end of the world. One of the most chilling passages is found in Revelation 9, where it describes the release of terrifying beings from the abyss, unleashed upon the earth, to bring suffering and destruction. Revelation 9:2-3 says, "When he opened the abyss, smoke rose from it like the smoke from a gigantic furnace. The sun and sky were darkened by the smoke from the abyss, and out of the smoke locusts came down on the earth, and were given power like that of scorpions of the earth." Some theologians interpret these locusts as symbolic of a future invasion of demonic forces, possibly even tied to the return of the Nephilim or similar entities. The fact that the Oak Island discovery seems to have been swiftly and quietly suppressed by authorities adds to the fear that something far more dangerous may have been uncovered, something that aligns with these end times prophecies. The prophecy of Daniel, unsealing the secrets. In the book of Daniel, there is a reference to the sealing and unsealing of knowledge in the end times. Daniel 12:4 states, "But you, Daniel, roll up and seal the words of the scroll until the time of the end. Many will go here and there to increase knowledge." Some scholars believe this passage suggests that certain ancient secrets, possibly connected to the Nephilim or other supernatural entities, were deliberately hidden away to be revealed only in the final days. The discovery on Oak Island, particularly if it involves such entities, could be seen as part of this unsealing, a revelation of knowledge that was meant to remain hidden until now. Connections to ancient civilizations. The artifacts found alongside the skeleton on Oak Island raise even more questions. Could these items be linked to ancient civilizations mentioned in the Bible, such as the Sumerians, Egyptians, or even the mysterious Atlanteans? The Bible is filled with references to lost knowledge and civilizations that were destroyed or disappeared, often due to divine intervention. For example, the story of Atlantis, as recounted by Plato, has long been the subject of speculation. Some believe that Atlantis was a real place, possibly linked to the advanced technology and knowledge of the Watchers and Nephilim. If Oak Island holds relics from such a civilization, it could explain why the discovery was so quickly suppressed. The island of Atlantis was first mentioned and recorded by Plato in his dialogues Timaeus and Critias. Plato mentions that this rather large island was later destroyed by a great earthquake. The time frame for this written account is said to be about 350–400 years before Christ. According to Plato, Atlantis was named for Atlas, who was supposedly the oldest twin of Poseidon, the son of Cronus in Greek mythology. Furthermore, Poseidon was the owner of the island and named it for his son. Other place names also reflect Atlas, such as the Atlantic Ocean and the Atlas Mountains extending from Morocco to Algeria. According to Plato's account, of Socrates' account of Solon's account that he received from the Egyptians, the Athenians, people of the city of Athens and perhaps others in Greece, went to war with those inhabiting the island of Atlantis. The Atlanteans had conquered parts of modern-day Italy and North Africa and were threatening Greece and Egypt. According to the account, many of the Athenians may have died while fighting the Atlanteans not long before the island's destruction. Pre-flood or post-flood possibilities. When it comes down to it, either Atlantis was a real place or it wasn't. If it wasn't, then the discussion is more or less finished, and considering that this story was passed down several times before Plato recorded it, we can assume that it has some inaccuracies. Regardless, let's assume for a moment that it was a real place and use a biblical framework to place it. Big picture biblical explanations could be, Atlantis was destroyed by the flood and we should not expect to find remnants of it. Atlantis was destroyed after the flood, and its remnants may still exist. Also, in Plato's account of Atlantis, he refers to the Atlantic Ocean as well as these Pillars of Hercules, which is likely the Strait of Gibraltar between modern-day Spain and Morocco. Plato said that Atlantis was as large as Libya and Asia. Asia was originally seen as a part of modern-day Turkey. Keep in mind that this is not what we think of today as Libya and Asia, but the way the Greeks viewed them about 500 BC. Take note that these are post-flood features and names. Since the modern continent scheme was changed significantly from the flood and Plato was referring to post-flood places, it is very unlikely that this Atlantis was pre-flood. Plato's book Critias gives details of the island and much more, such as the ancient Egyptians originating the account, implying that if it existed, it was likely post-flood. Egypt was formed by Mizraim, Noah's grandson, and is still known as Mizraim in the Hebrew language. So, for Egypt to be aware of it, requires Noah's grandson Mizraim to have existed to begin Egypt. If so, descriptions given by Plato appear to place it outside of the Mediterranean in the Atlantic Ocean. In the past, people have proposed likely places for Atlantis, such as the Americas or parts of it, remnants of the island of Thera, in the Mediterranean, which should be ruled out by Plato's statements. or the Azores in the Atlantic, but there has never been a consensus by researchers that any of these were indeed Atlantis. What happened to Atlantis, if it did exist? First, it could have been completely destroyed by earthquake, volcano, or other disaster. Or perhaps the remnants of Atlantis that Plato wrote of have been destroyed since the time of his writing. Plato records that it was associated with a great earthquake. Perhaps it was even felt in Greece. According to Plato's account in Timaeus, the ocean where Atlantis used to be was nearly impassable by boat due to the mud and debris from the island. However, in 2,000–3,000 years, such sediment could have traveled and settled out in other areas due to ocean currents, tides, storms, and so on. So that may not be a good sign to look for today. Perhaps groups of islands may be the place to look in the Atlantic Ocean extending from the mouth of the Mediterranean Sea. But this is just speculation. We may never know where it was, if it did exist. Could the destruction of Atlantis have been caused by a sudden rise in sea level? Creationists have often pointed out there was a post-flood ice age that was triggered by the flood. In brief, conditions following the flood would have yielded warm oceans and cool summers due to massive volcanic activity associated with the flood, plate movements during the flood, and mountain building at the end stages, and soon after the flood. With fine ash hovering in the upper atmosphere and being replenished with each volcano, this reflects sunlight back to space, hence cooling the globe. Warmer oceans due to plate movements and heated rock under the oceans increased evaporation, which caused more rainfall or, in winter months, more snowfall. With cooler summers not melting the snow, it accumulates into ice. Many layers of ice quickly form. Therefore, the world would have rapid growth of glaciers and ice caps. Kill. From a big picture, an ice age takes water out of the ocean and deposits it on land. This means the ocean levels would have been reduced. Both Christians and non-Christians agree that an ice age would reduce ocean levels significantly, to a point where land bridges open up, which is likely how many people and animals could have migrated to most continents. But at the end of the peak of the ice age, water levels in the ocean began to rise as glaciers and ice caps melted. Creationists have pointed out that the peak of the ice age would have been in the neighborhood of about 500 years after the flood. For example, creationist researcher Mike Ord has estimated that there was extensive melting for the next 200 years. If Atlantis's destruction were 700 or 800 years after the flood, it may have had something to do with the rising ocean levels. Keep in mind that an island being overtaken by rising sea levels appears identical to an island sinking. Where might Atlantis have been? The Americas can easily be ruled out due to size, but also because Timaeus refers to a continent set beyond it. This continent is likely the Americas. Most obviously, the Americas still exist and have not sunk into the sea. In addition, the island of Thera is within the Mediterranean Sea, so this would be ruled out. Perhaps the most famous report of Atlantis came from Athanasius Kircher from Subterraneus in 1669. He drew a map and placed Atlantis between Africa, Europe, and the Americas. The size of Kircher's Atlantis is much larger than Plato's description, but it is in the Atlantic Ocean. In fact, Kircher's version of Atlantis appears as large, if not larger, than Greenland. So this may not have been as accurate as it could have been. However, the island is where the Azores now sit. And of the logical places Atlantis could have been, the remnants spoken of by Plato could be the Azores, or perhaps the Canary Islands, or the Madeira Islands. Plato states, "The consequence is that in comparison of what then was, there are remaining only the bones of the wasted body, as they may be called, as in the case of small islands, all the richer and softer parts of the soil having fallen away, and the mere skeleton of the land being left." This is, of course, assuming the mountaintops still remain to this day as islands. The Azores sit above the mid-Atlantic ridge, where many creationists believe some of springs of the Great Deep burst forth, Genesis 7:11. This area was likely wrought with earthquake and volcanic activity. But would this area be an obvious impasse of mud and debris for several years for those sailing out of the Mediterranean Sea? Since it seemed rather well known that mud and debris caused a near impasse for ships, this may not be where Atlantis was. It doesn't seem as logical, since fewer ships were traveling that far into the Atlantic as opposed to the other two locations. Madeira Island and the Canary Islands are aloft volcanoes as well, and these areas may be more apt to cause a problem with ships trying to pass if demolished so near the Strait of Gibraltar. A few potential areas are shown on the map below for the island of Atlantis. We may never know where Atlantis existed. If it did exist, it was most likely a post-flood island somewhere in the Atlantic Ocean, not far from the Strait of Gibraltar. Atlantis, if the accounts were reasonably accurate, would have been destroyed, leaving only much smaller islands still sitting above the Atlantic Ocean's surface. The most logical remnants would seem to be the Canary or Madeira Islands, as well as other underwater islands in their vicinity that may have further been destroyed 3,000 years ago or so. Ezekiel's vision, a warning from the past. Another passage that may shed light on the Oak Island discovery is found in the book of Ezekiel. In Ezekiel 37, the prophet describes a vision in which he is led to a valley full of dry bones. God commands Ezekiel to prophesy over these bones, and as he does, they come to life, forming an army of resurrected beings. While this passage is often interpreted metaphorically, representing the restoration of Israel, some scholars believe it could also be hinting at the literal resurrection of ancient beings in the end times. If the discovery on Oak Island has indeed disturbed the resting place of such beings, it could be seen as a fulfillment of this prophecy, a harbinger of events yet to come. The potential future of Oak Island excavations was a topic of much discussion. The team knew that they needed to approach the next phase carefully, balancing their excitement with a methodical and scientific approach. The team also considered the importance of collaboration. They reached out to experts in various fields, seeking to build a multidisciplinary approach to their research. Historians, archaeologists, engineers, and metallurgists all offered valuable perspectives, helping the team refine their theories and plan their next steps. One of the key areas of focus was the preservation of the site. The team understood the historical and archaeological significance of Oak Island and were committed to preserving its integrity. The discovery also had implications for the public perception of Oak Island. The team's findings were shared widely, generating interest and excitement among the general public. People were fascinated by the unfolding mystery and the possibility of hidden treasures. This public interest translated into increased support for the team's efforts, with many people eager to follow their progress and learn more about the island's secrets. The impact of the discovery extended beyond Oak Island. It reignited interest in historical mysteries and treasure hunts worldwide, inspiring a new generation of explorers and researchers. The team's dedication and scientific approach served as a model for others, demonstrating the importance of perseverance, collaboration, and rigorous analysis in uncovering the past. The discovery at DN 11.5 has undoubtedly marked a significant milestone in the ongoing quest to uncover the secrets of Oak Island. From the initial detection of the hollow space to the detailed scientific analysis that revealed traces of gold and man-made structures, the journey has been both thrilling and enlightening. The team's meticulous approach and unwavering dedication have brought them closer than ever to solving the island's enduring mystery. Recapping the key points, we began with the unexpected finding of a hollow space at a depth of 90 feet. This initial discovery set off a chain reaction of excitement and intense investigation. Geologist Terry Matheson, researcher Charles Barkhouse, and master driller Mike Tedford played pivotal roles in analyzing the site and gathering crucial samples. Their efforts revealed not just a void, but potentially a gateway to a vast network of tunnels and chambers, hinting at the possibility of hidden treasures. The scientific findings led by Emma, the archaeometallurgy specialist, were particularly groundbreaking. The use of advanced techniques like XRF spectrometry unveiled the presence of gold, adding credence to the theory that these structures were designed to protect valuable artifacts. The discovery of European pottery shards and fragments of ancient tools further suggested that early explorers or settlers might have played a role in this intriguing narrative. The speculations and theories that emerged from these findings were equally fascinating. From connections to the Knights Templar and early European explorers, to potential ceremonial uses of the structures, the range of possibilities expanded the historical and cultural context of Oak Island. The decision by the U.S. government to halt further research only added to the intrigue, prompting questions about the true significance of the island's secrets. The impact of the discovery has been far-reaching. It has reignited interest in Oak Island among historians, archaeologists, and treasure hunters worldwide. The team's commitment to a scientific and collaborative approach has set a new standard for exploration, demonstrating the importance of combining technology, expertise, and passion in uncovering historical mysteries. As we look to the future, the potential for new discoveries on Oak Island remains vast. The team is preparing for the next phase of their investigation, equipped with advanced technologies and the support of a global community of experts. Their journey is far from over, and each new step brings them closer to unlocking the ultimate secrets of Oak Island.